Hello, everyone. Today we begin the review section 3. We'll be reading the introduction and today's first review lesson, which will be lesson 111. And we will also be reading the correlating chapter text, which is chapter 11, God or the Ego, section 3, From Darkness to Light. Before we begin, I'd like to bring something to everyone's attention. The ones that are represented here in how it looks like 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And lots of people have been noticing number sequences and whatnot. And we had just been speaking just before we started this about how it almost feels like there's supposed to be some kind of significance to the whole lesson because of all these 1s or 11s as they seem to be getting viewed as. And what came to me was that it's like a signpost, a flag being waved saying, pay attention, folks. It's a review. Everything is a review of what you've already been through, already experienced. And it's to look at these things and recognize that you're just repeating something. You're reviewing it again. And then the next thought that I'm hearing, the next thing that I'm hearing from my guides is like with the retrogrades, everything's being brought up for review, for you to look at and recognize if there's any small portion that you've missed and let it all go and move on to the next step in the life, the next rung on the ladder. So that understanding of this whole, pay attention, it's all a review of looking at the things you've been through and recognizing the choices made and letting the stuff go. It brings it up for you to look at so you can let it go. That's what the retrogrades are with the planets. That's what this is talking about here with the whole review and the lessons, to look at the stuff you've already learned and that you still have more that you can learn. All right, let us begin. Alex?
I'm going to be reading from the screen behind the camera today, so that way you guys can see my eyes a little bit better. So, Chapter 11, God or the Ego, Section 3, From Darkness to Light. When you are weary, remember you have hurt yourself. Your comforter will rest you, but you cannot. You do not know how, for if you did, you could never have grown weary. Unless you hurt yourself, you could never suffer in any way, for that is not God's will for his Son. Pain is not of him, for he knows no attack, and his peace surrounds you silently. God is very quiet, for there is no conflict in him. Conflict is the root of all evil, for being blind, it does not see whom it attacks. Yet it always attacks the Son of God, and the Son of God is you. God's Son is indeed in need of comfort, for he knows not what he does, believing his will is not his own. The kingdom is his, and yet he wanders homeless. At home in God, he is lonely, and amid all his brothers, he is friendless. Would God let this be real when he did not will to be alone himself? And if your will is his, it cannot be true of you, because it is not true of him.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's true, folks. If you are feeling weary, you you have hurt yourself. In everything, you're the one making the choices and decisions. And okay, I'm being given examples here in my mind to correlate what it's trying to get across. We have been taught to never stay idle, to always move, always be on the go, always have something in our hands doing something. That if we aren't doing something, we're being lazy. And so when we go and we take a vacation to rest, we're not idle. We are not sitting still. We're not laying back. We are going, doing. And because of this, we cannot understand what true rest is. We do not have to constantly be going. This is how we are hurting ourselves, because we never give our body or our mind time to just be. To be in the moment. We are always thinking about yesterday or tomorrow, but never about the here and now. And it is that break in what we're understanding rest to be that they're trying to correct here. Does that make sense?
I wasn't listening, sorry. I was thinking about four-wheeling and the Dodge truck and things like that. I don't know why. I think because you were talking about going on vacation and how sometimes going on vacation isn't really a vacation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, folks, right there. Beautiful example. Beautiful example. It's like going four-wheeling. You go on a week's vacation to go four-wheeling. Well, the entire time you're there doing the camping and everything, you are busting your ass to set up the tenting and equipment, right? Making sure, you can get your meals put in and everything else, get all that stuff taken care of. Then you're out there on the trail. You're having to dig yourself out, wench yourself out, figure out ways to deal with stuff, change tires, fix broken parts and components, help your buddies that are with you. It's work. Hard fucking work. And it's not resting. There's no rest in that. You are putting wear and tear on the body and not allowing it to just be. Think about that. When was the last time you just sat back and relaxed? Didn't watch TV, didn't listen to music, just enjoyed the sounds of nature. Just sat and was with God. When was the last time you truly did that? No conversation, nothing, just sat there with whoever you're with and just sat there in silence and enjoyed the company of each other and what God has provided you. That is the kind of rest it's talking about. It's trying to get you to understand you don't have to constantly be going. Doing. That kind of going and doing, it wears on you. It creates sickness and disease within you because you're constantly fretting and worrying about the next thing you have to do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please continue.
Oh, my child, if you knew what God wills for you, your joy would be complete. And what he wills has happened, for it was always true. When the light comes, and you have said, God's will is mine, you will see such beauty that you will not know it is not of you. Out of your joy you will create beauty in his name, for your joy could no more be contained than his. the bleak little world will vanish into nothingness, and your heart will be so filled with joy that it will leap into heaven and into the presence of God. I cannot tell you what this will be like, for your heart is not ready. Yet I can tell you and remind you often that what God wills for himself, he wills for you, and what he wills for you is yours. Now, I would like to interject something here. Mm-hmm. This is another one of those paragraphs where the scribe and the editor have put their energy into this paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I could even put some responsibility on Jesus himself in lending towards the thought and idea that the world is going to vanish.
As you were reading this and I was trying to read along, I couldn't comprehend it. And that tells me that whatever was put into there was not of them.
Well, in particular, the line that says, the bleak little world will vanish into nothingness. And the understanding I got from that is not that the world will vanish into nothingness, the bleak little world. So in other words, the world in our imaginations,
mm-hmm.
the world of pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that the world will vanish, it's that the bleakness that we see in the world will vanish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like when I'm reading this even now to myself, I get that they were putting forth a belief in something that they were thinking they were hearing him say. That's what I'm getting.
Right.
So they were putting down what they wanted to hear in that moment and not what he was actually saying, which makes sense as to why I couldn't understand it, why I couldn't hear it. Because even as I was following along, I could not hear the words. There was like a silence. And it gives me this understanding that it was not of his energy in those moments. But I do get that what Alex was saying, that they had taken what he was saying and twisted it to mean something else.
Yeah, see, my understanding is all of this is a co-creation.
Yes.
ACIM is a co-creation between Jesus, Helen Schuckman, and
William Thetford.
Mm-hmm. And
it was a co-creation between the three of them.
Right.
A triad.
Right.
And everything that was going on throughout it, the editing that was put in place, all that stuff had effects. And when other hands came into it, that had effects for things that just were not understood. So let me go back over this real quick. Oh, my child, if you knew what God wills for you, your joy would be complete. And what he wills has happened, for it was always true. When the light comes and you have said, God's will is mine, you will see such beauty that you will know it is not of you. Now,
something right there doesn't feel right.
No, it is of you because you are an extension of God. So whatever you extend through you is of you too. What you project out there to witness is what what you perceive is what you're projecting out. That means it's of you. We create like our Father. He projects us out. We project out. So what I'm getting here is that God's will, when you understand that God's will is yours, and that when you see such beauty, that you will know that it is of you, just as it is of God. If you and God are, if you are God, you are part of God, and you are one and the same here, equal. What is of God is of you. Hello? Think about it, folks. What is of God is of you. If you are part of God, that means you are God. So what is of God is of you. It's an extension of you. The beauty of you.
You know, when I read that sentence and I take out the word not, that sentence feels right.
Absolutely.
You will see such beauty that you will know it is of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Out of your joy you will create beauty in his name, for your joy could no more be contained than his. Think about that.
And the sentence that says the bleak little world will vanish into nothingness should say the bleak little world in your mind will vanish into nothingness, and your heart will be so filled with joy that it will leap into heaven and into the presence of God.
Absolutely. If think about it, folks, if everything is mental, if the universe is mental, then what it is that will fall away will be the illusion of the world you have created in your mind. That is what falls away. It's not the world out there in front of you. As your mind changes about what you're perceiving around you, the world stays the same. It's your mind that changes. The way you look at things change. And as you do and extend that to your brothers, their minds change to where people stop reacting the way they used to. Which means the things happening in the world start changing, stop happening. Do you get what I'm saying? It's all connected. We extend what we believe ourselves to be. If we extend love and understanding and empathy and compassion, understanding our brothers are misperceiving, and share a truth with them and just set it before them. It's up to them to choose it. They don't have to if they don't want to. That's where everything comes in. Just simply share your experiences that show that this is the truth for you. It's that sharing that sheds the light of truth and opens your brother's eyes that things can be seen differently. So, as Alex was saying, the bleak little world will vanish into nothingness, and your heart will be so filled with joy that it will leap into heaven and into the presence of God. I cannot tell you what this will be like, for your heart is not ready. What that is stating right there is this understanding that you cannot know something until you experience it yourself, until you choose to let go the things that you've been holding on to as being the truth. And it is that kind of stuff that you have to recognize that they are trying to get you to look at. All these things that you've been taught to be true. All of that stuff, if you can look at it and recognize the choices you've made and let them go, the world around you changes. How you see it and view it changes. You recognize nothing's going wrong anymore. And that everything that you are wanting for yourself and wanting for your brothers is God's will for you. He wills for you what you want for yourself and for your brothers. Peace, joy, love, and happiness. Connection. Community. Family. That soul and heart connection. That is what we seek. Please continue.
4. The way is not hard, but it is very different. Yours is the way of pain, of which God knows nothing. That way is hard indeed, and very lonely. Fear and grief are your guests, and they go with you and abide with you on the way. But the dark journey is not the way of God's Son. Walk in light, and do not see the dark companions, for they are not fit companions for the Son of God, who was created of light and in light. The great light always surrounds you and shines out from you. How can you see the dark companions in a light such as this? If you see them, it is only because you are denying the light. But deny them instead, for the light is here, and the way is clear. God hides nothing from his Son, even though his Son would hide himself. Yet the Son of God cannot hide his glory, for God wills him to be glorious and gave him the light that shines in him. You will never lose your way, for God leads you. When you wander, you but undertake a journey that is not real. The dark companions, the dark way, are all illusions. Turn towards the light, for the little spark in you is part of a light so great that it can sweep you out of all darkness forever. For your Father is your Creator, and you are like Him.
Absolutely. They're right. The way is not hard, but it is very different from everything you've been taught.
I think hard is a matter of opinion. I've found this to be very difficult. It almost seems like you've had a much easier time with this than me, at least over the last year.
It's because I stopped fighting it. I started accepting who I am and accepting what I was being shown. I kept fighting with that voice within me, arguing with Holy Spirit and my guides that I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to be doing that. It says, I'm being told by these people this, and I'm being told by these. When I stopped listening to all of them and all their bullshit, because that's what it is, folks, bullshit. The people out there in the world don't know a fucking thing about what it is that I need to do. The only one that can tell me what it is that I need to do is Holy Spirit, God above, and the guides that I have been given that share this journey with me. And let me tell you, when I stopped listening to the people around me and out there in the world and started only listening to them, shit started happening. Things got real, really fast. Things started moving for me. I started seeing the bigger picture. I started understanding how everything was interconnected and correlating with each other. I started understanding where I got my beliefs and my thoughts from. I started understanding why it was I was taught the things I was. Why it was I had the experiences I had with the abilities that I have. And why I was being taught to deny them all my life. Because if I can think for myself and understand these things and have someone else that I'm going to other than the government and the world out there around me, I can't be controlled. I can't be manipulated. My free will can no longer be taken from me. I'm no longer handing it to somebody else. That is what that is speaking of. That's why this is different from what you've been taught. You've been taught to blindly follow and believe. And it is very difficult to give up that way of seeing things. It's like just today we had an interaction with someone who every other sentence they were judging something and then apologizing. They are highly intuitive, and yet the judgments they hold block them from fully understanding and seeing what they are capable of being. And it's that understanding that all of us have been taught to do that. All of us have been taught to block what is our natural inheritance. Believe it or not, folks, all of us are telepathic. All of us are psychic. All of us. All of us are able to heal. We are able to communicate with the animals and creatures around us. And with each other, all without words. We do it when we look at each other. We can look at our partner across the room, and a single look can send us a message that says, okay, let's go round up our stuff and let's go. It's time to go. Or, oh crap, they need me over there now. And you start heading across that room to join them. And sure enough, that is a telepathic communication, folks. And it doesn't have to be with your partner. It can be a complete stranger on the street looking you dead in the eye, and you can see their call for help. And when you go over there, you recognize what's happening and you can help them in the moment. They didn't say a word. They simply looked at you and you knew they need help. These things are what it's speaking of. That it's wanting you to recognize and wake up from that darkness of not understanding who and what you are. What it is that you are capable of doing in being. That you are limiting yourself every time you choose to listen to that outside of you. To follow guidance from outside of you. And I shouldn't call it guidance. I should call it advice, judgments, opinions. Because it's the judgments and opinions. You can get guidance outside of you. You can have a brother say something that just clicks. I've shared about that before, just a couple lessons ago. Yet they aren't talking to you. They're talking to someone else. So you can receive a guidance from a brother all unknowingly from that brother. Or even directly knowingly. But advice, judgments, opinions, that is what you are not to follow. That is the stuff made of the ego. That's not of Holy Spirit. When your brother's sharing an understanding of something, that is Holy Spirit. All right. And in everything, it's talking about not hiding anything, folks. You know, we have been taught to hide anything and everything, to never be authentic in who we are. We're taught to hide if we have a little idiosyncrasy, like I don't know, I'm going to make something up.
Well, here's one. This thing I have on my chin that keeps bothering me, I keep trying to make sure that I don't get it in the recording, me rubbing my chin like this. So I'm taught to hide it. I'm ashamed of it.
Yeah, afraid of the judgment.
Right.
And that is what we are taught, to be afraid of the judgment. So we hide everything because we are afraid of being judged.
Same with that guy in the video we watched last night. He was talking about how some teenagers were harassing him while he was trying to
do a vlog, a video blog.
Right.
As he was, walking into a park, these teenagers pulled up in their car beside him, talking a bunch of crap, trying to, get some kind of reaction out of him. And he thought he had gotten past it, and yet he was being reminded, you're still afraid of being judged. But he wasn't recognizing it, that he couldn't understand what was going on in the moment. He knew that there's something to look at there, but not what it was encompassing, what it was pinpointing to. And it actually gives me this understanding that I may end up having to consider contacting this person to let him know that what he was fearing in that moment was judgment. All of us fear judgment, or have feared judgments. There are those of us that have learned to not care anymore what another thinks and believes about us, such as me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you've done a very good job of that, particularly wearing that thing on your forehead
all the time,
out in public.
I wear it to work,
not
everywhere.
just these videos.
Yeah.
And when I tried wearing something on my forehead that one time, just at my dad's house, I felt the judgment from them, and it affected me so much, I never wore anything on my forehead again.
Exactly. It's like they don't have to say a word. Judgments are felt, people. You don't have to open your mouth and speak them. If you're holding a judgment, it's felt. And it is felt by the person that's you're thinking about. If they're in front of you, they're feeling your judgments.
Right.
And so is everybody else.
We're all connected.
They recognize and they feel your judgments about that person and whatever it is you think they're doing.
Yeah, we're deluding ourselves if we actually believe that thoughts are private. They're not.
No, they're not. If we really choose to look and pay attention, we recognize that we're always being judged by somebody. And I've chosen to stand in His light of truth. I hide nothing. This is why I speak about my rapes, my molestations, the beatings, the mental and emotional abuse. This is why I share everything, people. I hide nothing. Everything is to be shared and looked at. Because within everything, there is a lesson to be learned. All right. Please continue, Alex.
6. The children of light cannot abide in darkness, for darkness is not in them. Do not be deceived by the dark comforters, and never let them enter the mind of God's Son, for they have no place in His temple. When you are tempted to deny Him, remember that there are no other gods to place before Him, and accept His will for you in peace, for you cannot accept it otherwise. Only God's Comforter can comfort you. In the quiet of His temple, He waits to give you the peace that is yours. Give His peace that you may enter the temple and find it waiting for you. But be holy in the presence of God, or you will not know that you are there. For what is unlike God cannot enter His mind, because it was not His thought, and therefore does not belong to Him. And your mind must be as pure as His, if you would know what belongs to you. Guard carefully His temple, for He Himself dwells there and abides in peace. You cannot enter God's presence with the dark companions beside you, but you also cannot enter alone. All your brothers must enter with you, for until you have accepted them, you cannot enter. For you cannot understand wholeness unless you are whole, and no part of the Son of God can be excluded if He would know the wholeness of His Father. In your mind, you can accept the whole sonship and bless it with the light your Father gave it. Then you will be worthy to dwell in the temple with Him, because it is your will, not to be alone. God blessed his Son forever. If you will bless him in time, you will be in eternity. Time cannot separate you from God if you use it on behalf of the eternal.
Absolutely. So what that is speaking of, folks, is recognizing that the only one that can give you peace and comfort right now and clear your mind of all the crap that you've been taught to think and believe to be true is Holy Spirit. He is your great comforter. He is the one Father has given us. If you choose to turn within to him, for he sits within the temple within you, as does God. The temple here, in the center of your being, known as the heart chakra. That inner temple is where the soul sets. That is where it resides. Think about that, folks. In the soul's temple within the heart chakra, the heart and the soul, that is where Holy Spirit and God reside within you. They're not just out there in some great beyond that you have no conscious understanding of. Believe it or not, they are within you. God is in everything around us, but he's also within us. This is also why we are not separate from God. We are within God and he is within us. Think about that. That would make us one and the same. And you know, when it talks about guarding the temple, I keep hearing, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. That I need defend myself, guard myself against nothing. And then I hear things like this, where it says, you know, you to guard your temple. And then I hear things like, you got to be vigilant. Vigilance I can comprehend, because it's paying attention to whatever I'm thinking in the moment that will give me an understanding of if I'm stepping back toward that ego thought system or staying in the light with Holy Spirit. That vigilance I understand. But to use the word guard implies that there's danger. And I'm never in danger because I really truly cannot go wrong here, folks. Even if I chose to go back into my ego mindset, I would just simply delay myself from reaching who I truly am. That's all. So to think that I have to guard against anything seems to be a fallacy, a concept misperceived. And it makes me question, again, what was the person editing and or writing this up thinking in those moments? How were they interpreting what was being shared with them? This is what we were talking about, how there are parts and sections that give twisted meanings that seem to say the exact opposite of each other. And you got to question it. What is it that you are truly seeing and witnessing here? What is it that you are truly hearing? What is it actually saying?
The way I understand this, guard carefully his temple and what it's talking about, it goes on to say, for he himself dwells there and abides in peace. Mm-hmm. So what you're guarding against is the loss of your peace. And when you do lose your peace, that's when you know you have a misperception and you seek for the correction. Otherwise, you cannot dwell in God's temple.
See, I get that, but the whole guarding thing, it's like, be vigilant against it. I can see that. To pay attention and just keep your eye. To
It's
always
another
be,
way of saying the exact same thing as to be vigilant.
yeah, but the meaning...
Maybe the scribe and the editor had different thoughts, and that's what you're picking up on.
I'm thinking that's what it is, because I keep getting this guard as in fear that something's to be taken away from you. In fear that you're being punished for something. You're going to be punished. To guard like you're going to be attacked. And I'm going, that doesn't feel right. That's how it's coming across to me. It's like, folks, I feel the emotional energy of what is written by somebody else. Whatever they're writing, if there's an emotional attachment to something, I'm feeling it. I pick up on it. That is one of my intuitive abilities, is to pick up on the emotional attachments to the words people use, whether it's verbal or written, and to also pick up on their intention. If they have a hidden agenda in something, I feel it. I know it's there. I recognize it as being there before they've even opened their mouth. There's an energy that comes in with it. And so what I'm experiencing here right now that has me questioning it is that emotional energy that is attached to that particular word. That there's somebody had a change in there or something. And that's what I'm picking up on. And as Alex pointed out, like the editor and the scribe had two different things going on there. And that's part of what we keep picking up on here, that it says something in one place and then it says something different in another. It's like, which one is correct? Is there a world or isn't there a world?
Yes, and that's what's causing the confusion throughout all of the ACIM.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just in one place, it's in many places where there seems to be contradiction as to what it's saying.
Yeah, contradictions to what's being said, that is causing a inner conflict. Because you're being told one thing and then you're being told another. And you're going, wait a minute, it just said this over here. So why is it going to say this over here? Because the two don't seem to correlate with each other. All right, folks. That was Chapter 11, God or the Ego, Section 3, From Darkness to Light. Let's move on to the introduction to today's review. For Review 3. Do you have the introduction portion?
No, I don't. You see what I have up on the screen. This is all I have.
Would you like?
Sure. Review 3, Introduction. Our next review begins today. We will review 2 recent lessons every day for 10 successive days of practicing. We will observe a special format for these practice periods that you are urged to follow just as closely as you can. We understand, of course, that it may be impossible for you to undertake what is suggested here as optimal each day and every hour of the day. Learning will not be hampered when you miss a practice period because it is impossible at the appointed time. Nor is it necessary that you make excessive efforts to be sure that you catch up in terms of numbers. Rituals are not our aim and would defeat our goal. But learning will be hampered when you skip a practice period because you are unwilling to devote the time to it that you are asked to give. Do not deceive yourself in this. Unwillingness can be most carefully concealed behind a cloak of situations you cannot control. Learn to distinguish situations that are poorly suited to your practicing from those that you establish to uphold a camouflage for your unwillingness. Those practice periods that you have lost because you did not want to do them for whatever reason should be done as soon as you have changed your mind about your goal. You are unwilling to cooperate in practicing salvation only if it interferes with goals you hold more dear. When you withdraw the value given them, allow your practice periods to be replacements for your litanies to them. They gave you nothing, but your practicing can offer everything to you, and so accept their offering and be at peace. The format you should use for these reviews is this. Devote 5 minutes twice a day or longer, if you would prefer it, to considering the thoughts that are assigned. Read over the ideas and comments that are written down for each day's exercise, and then begin to think about them, while letting your mind relate them to your needs, your seeming problems, and all your concerns. Place the ideas within your mind and let it use them as it chooses. Give it faith that it will use them wisely, being helped in its decisions by the one who gave the thoughts to you. What can you trust but what is in your mind? Have faith in these reviews. The means the Holy Spirit uses will not fail. The wisdom of your mind will come to your assistance. Give direction at the outset, and then lean back in quiet faith and let the mind employ the thoughts you gave as they were given for you to use. You have been given them in perfect trust, in perfect confidence that you would use them well, in perfect faith that you would see their messages and use them for yourself. Offer them to your mind in that same trust and confidence and faith. It will not fail. It is the Holy Spirit's chosen means for your salvation. Since it has His trust, His means must surely merit yours as well. We emphasize the benefits to you if you devote the first 5 minutes of the day to your reviews and also give the last 5 minutes of your waking day to them. If this cannot be done, at least try to divide them so you undertake one in the morning and the other in the hour just before you go to sleep. The exercises to be done throughout the day are equally important and perhaps of even greater value. You have been inclined to practice only at appointed times and then go on your way to other things without applying what you learned to them. As a result, you have gained little reinforcement and have not given your learning a fair chance to prove how great are its potential gifts to you. Here is another chance to use it well. In these reviews, we stress the need to let your learning not lie idly by between your longer practice periods. Attempt to give your daily 2 ideas a brief but serious review each hour. Use one on the hour and the other on a half an hour later. Use one on the hour and the other one a half an hour later. You need not give more than just a moment to each one. Repeat it and allow your mind to rest a little time in silence and in peace. Then turn to other things, but try to keep the thought with you and let it serve to help you keep your peace throughout the day as well. If you are shaken, think of it again. These practice periods are planned to help you form the habit of applying what you learn each day to everything you do. Do not repeat the thought and lay it down. Its usefulness is limitless to you, and it is meant to serve you in all ways, all times and places, and whenever you need help of any kind. Try then to take it with you in the business of the day and make it holy, worthy of God's Son, acceptable to God and yourself. Each day's review assignments will conclude with a restatement of the thought to use each hour, and the one to be applied on each half hour as well. Forget them not. This second chance with each of these ideas will bring such large advances that we come from these reviews with learning gains so great we will continue on more solid ground, with firmer footsteps and with stronger faith. Do not forget how little you have learned. Do not forget how much you can learn now. Do not forget your Father's need of you as you review these thoughts He gave to you.
Wow. Thank you. So, what it's speaking of here, folks, in this review, in the introduction, it's wanting you to recognize that you have only been doing a surface of taking in the idea on a surface level. They are wanting you to start applying these lessons to your everyday life, to see how they correlate with your everyday life. Now, for those of you that have been following these videos, from day one, I have been giving you a leg up. We have been giving you a leg up in understanding that these things need to be applied to how you are looking at the world around you, how you are perceiving the world around you, how you are perceiving yourself and your brothers. And that in everything, it's how you've been taught to think and believe. And from day one, I have been sharing these truths with you as it's asking you to do. And I have been urging you to look at how these things are relating to the stuff that's happening in your own life. When I break it down and share with you how these things are breaking down in my own life with the things that I'm experiencing, and how I am using this stuff within my life. This is what it's talking about. This is what it's asking you to start doing. It's like you've got the general idea of what it is that you are to be doing. Now start doing it within your own life, working it, putting these ideas into practice with the things you're experiencing. Because in everything, it's telling you, you're the one that's given everything value here. If you withdraw that value you've placed on it, it will no longer be as paramount as you have initially believed it to be. And the format that they're asking here, when we first started doing these workbook lessons, we started out doing them when we first woke up in the morning and late at night. We would start the day with the morning's lesson, and at night we would do the repeat of it, and then we would actually move into the next day's lesson and watch it and do it, just so that when we went to bed, we had the thoughts of that lesson in our mind, and then we would wake up to it and be living it throughout the day. That was something that we were guided to do in the beginning, was to start our day with the lesson, end our day with the lesson, and then just before we go to bed, do the next day's lesson. So we go to sleep with those thoughts on our mind. And it has helped us to move through this stuff a little faster, a little easier, to have those thoughts in our mind as we're going to sleep, and to wake up to those thoughts in our mind as we refresh it with the lesson again. So that might be something you guys might want to consider trying, because we did find it helpful to do it that way. It gave us a sense of beginning to our day and an ending to our day, both starting and ending with God. And then to work throughout the day on the lesson with God. To recognize that every moment, every step of the day, He's with me. He's standing there with me until I ask Him to join me in the lesson. And then He steps forward, places His arm around me, says, okay, here we go. Let's begin. That is how it's visualized in my own mind. All right, let's move on to the lesson. But before we do, I want to give these things in 13 one more go at. So the things they're asking you to take into mind as you're doing this are these sentences. Do not forget how little you have learned. Do not forget how much you can learn now. Do not forget your Father's need of you. As you review these thoughts He gave to you. And keep in mind, folks, the experiences you have had and are having now, they are connected, believe it or not. Those experiences you had as a child where you picked up those judgments and beliefs are connected to the experiences you are having now. They are connected because the beliefs are the same. And if you're willing to look at the belief, you can let go that pain and suffering. And He is giving you these things to look at so you can heal. Everything He's giving you. As you look at these thoughts and you take these things that He's trying to teach you in, you recognize He's giving you peace, joy, and happiness. Right, let's move on to the lesson. Alex.
Workbook Lesson 111. Review of Lessons 91 and 92.
For morning and evening review. Wow.
For morning and evening review. Miracles are seen in light. I cannot see in darkness. Let the light of holiness and truth light up my mind, and let me see the innocence within. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. I see through strength, the gift of God to me. My weakness is the dark His gift dispels, by giving me His strength to take its place. On the hour, miracles are seen in light. On the half hour, miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one.
All right. It's pretty clear cut, folks. They're wanting you to take these and try and bring them into mind. Even if you got to put a little note on your hand to, okay, the left hand is on the hour and the right hand is on the half hour. Write it in my palm. Okay. Do something to bring it into your mind that these things are to be looked at these times of day. Miracles are seen in light. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. It's taking the first one and adding it in with the second, just as it did in the initial lessons when we first did them. They are combining them together to show you how they're all interconnected. Everything's connected, folks. All right, that was lesson 111 with the review introduction and the chapter text, the correlating chapter text, chapter 11, God or the Ego, section 3, from darkness to light. All right, folks. Things are getting really clear now. You're starting to see the patterns. You're starting to understand what's being asked of you. Everything is in your hands. It's your choice. It's your decision. You're the one making all the choices and decisions. Consider everything that we share here with you. Weigh it against these things that you've experienced in your own life and see how they correlate. We lay a truth before you. It's up to you to pick it up and accept it as your own. In everything, we simply channel the truth that is being shown to us. Thank you for joining us today, folks. My name is Sabrina Reyenga.
And my name is Alex Reyenga.
Hugs, love, light, and blessings on your journey, my brothers. You are loved. We love you. Peas in a pod. Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold. Peas porridge in a pot 9 days old. Some like it hot, some like it cold. Some like it in a pot 9 days old.
Lettuce, turnip, and pea.
Please be the light you are meant to be. Please be the light we know you to be. Please choose to be the light. Please be the light we see you to be. Blessings on your journey, my brothers. You are loved. We love you. Have a glorious day.